Now, this is not the sort of thing that I generally do. Any of you know who know me, and I'm sort of sitting with my other phone in my hand here, going, I don't know whether this is actually working or not. So I'm hoping that it is. Here goes. I mean, let's just see whether this actually plays through. Once this starts to go live, and there we go. It is. I can see it playing live on my other phone. So I know that it is working live. There we go. Happy days. Look, it's not something I was planning on doing here today. This is just something the weather's beautiful here. The sun is shining. I have had a beautiful Sunday lunch with my family, and I was thinking to myself that there was a challenge put out for me. The One Distillery Challenge. I believe it originated. Before I start, cheers to you all. Thank you for anybody who's here. Thank you for joining in. I mean, I would love to be in a more widescreen setting. Had I taken my time, I would have been in a a better setting. But look, I'm sitting in front of the house, sun's shining. Eh, it doesn't get much better than this for me personally. And yeah, this One Distillery Challenge, and I've never actually. Well, I think it was Jeff Whiskey, and Jeff. Well, I believe it was definitely Jeff Whiskey, because Jeff contacted, well, sort of sent a message to me just as I had promoted this, to say, glad that you've picked up on the challenge. I look forward to hearing what you think. Um, and it was the sort of, it got to me through Stuart Whiskey Wims from Stirling direction there. I'm sure most of us know Stuart, and he had it stretched its way through Gav's drams, him, and he challenged myself and Kevin Grant, who we most of us know. Now, the problem I have here, and I'm sure if there we go. You'll see me once again. You'll see me skipping off to the side to see who's chatting, who's saying what. So because I'm sitting outside. I'm doing this on my phone. I'm looking at my other phone to see what's being said. Let's just see who's in before we go further. This probably won't last that long. It won't be a 2 or 3 hour, probably not even half an hour, to be honest with you. Jeff Whiskey was in to say, hoping, as I already mentioned, hoping hoping to listen into this, Jim. Glad the challenge has reached its way to you, buddy. And I mean, Jeff, we all know, Jeff, we all love. Peter Box sitting in the sun too, Jim. Looking forward to the impromptu show. Well, thank you, Peter. Peter, Frank, good afternoon, everyone. Frank, great to have you in, my friend. Mm-mm-mm. David Owen, hello, everyone. I'll not tell you what's in my glass because we'll get to that. Whiskey Liberation Front, Lee J, my friend, good to see you. And Tony Nelson in the US. Tony, my friend. Cheers. Greg's Whiskey Guide in France. Greg, good to see you in. There's people in here. Des, good to have you in. It's, this was impromptu. I hadn't planned on doing this. I'd sort of sat down this afternoon. Rob Smith is also joining. I'd sort of sat down this afternoon, and it was my intention that have lunch with family. Yes, get that done. And the weather was so beautiful. I thought, I had been asked to do this One Distillery Challenge. It was looking slim, the chances of me actually getting a chance to do a video, to sit down and do an actual video. And I enjoyed doing the live stream Thursday night. So I thought, well, look, maybe if I get the chance for an hour, 45 minutes, 30 minutes, even, this afternoon, I'll actually sit just and do it live and speak to you folks because I enjoy your company. So that's what I've decided to do. I'm having a dram. I've had a dram earlier on. As I said, I won't tell you what it is. We'll get to that. I'm having a wee beer as well. You may well notice that I am wearing a Springbank t-shirt. I just happen to have a Springbank t-shirt on. It's that simple. It's that simple. The one distillery challenge, I think, and I haven't paid an awful lot of attention to what's going on, to be honest with you. I don't know what the story is, and I'm sure Benno's in. Benno, welcome, my friend. I hope you're not busy today, and thank you again for the other night. Um, I imagine that the one distillery challenge is sort of, as I say, I haven't really paid a lot of attention to the rules. Is it just if you had one distillery, which would be? That's what I'm putting it down to. I'm wearing a Springbank t-shirt. Yeah. I recommend to anyone who has never visited the Springbank distillery to do so. It's it's phenomenal. It's it's one of those things that I believe we should do for the simple fact that there ain't too many distilleries who still have malting floors. So to just be standing in a malting floor and it's the innocence of Springbank. And when I say the innocence of it, I mean it's the it's so natural. It's how whiskey was made. I think that's what it is with Springbank. I haven't laid my claims on the table yet. This isn't me saying that Springbank should be that distillery. I haven't said anything yet. I'm just saying that given the opportunity to go to Springbank, or if you ever should get the opportunity to go to Springbank Distillery, Glengai, if you're going to go to Campbelltown, you're going to do Springbank, you're going to do Glengyle, you're going to do Glen Scotia, and if you don't, what's the point in being there? Golf, maybe, of course, obviously, but I mean, I would recommend if you're ever heading that direction, you've got to do Springbank. I love Springbank. I asked what is my so I love world whiskey. I love whiskey from everywhere. This has come up earlier on today with my patronage and the posting of this week's distillery or this week's review. Where or what's my whiskey of choice? What's my I love world whiskey. I love whiskey from everywhere. I think true whiskey enthusiasts love whiskey from everywhere. Which is my favorite distillery then? I am almost at the point of saying I don't actually have one. Sounds a bit weird whenever I'm going into this one distillery, but we'll get there. You'll understand what I'm saying in a minute. Springbank is phenomenal, I believe. Springbank 10, to me, one of the original and best. I mean, of the Springbank stuff, the 10-year-old to me is still sort of the original and the best. I poured myself the other night just because I fancied one. A Hazelburn 10-year-old. Brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. Beautiful. Beautiful. Nothing to complain about whiskey. triple distilled, 10-year-old spirit from Springbank, Longrow. Phenomenal. I mean, not. I mean, to them and to most other people, this is heavily peated spirit, and I drink it and just think, yes, it's heavily peated, but it's just classic peated whiskey, classic peated Scotch whiskey. Would you know? You know, it's very difficult to understand where the peat plays in there. It's so well balanced. At that point, I start to think to myself, right, Glengyle. I mean, there's three products: Springbank, Hazelburn, Longrow. All very difficult to get, no matter where you are in the world. Yes, you will get accessibility to them. Yes, you can pick them up, but you've got to, stand in line to do so. You've got to argue your case to do so. And that's just the very basic Springbanks, the 10, the Hazelburn 10, the Longrow. We're not talking about the age-stated stuff, the heavily age-stated stuff. So I'm not going to suggest for 1 second that Springbank is my, if I had one distillery. As a matter of fact, Springbank are one of the first distilleries I would actually discount as my, if I only had one distillery. Because, yeah, their product's phenomenal. I don't doubt that. But I can't access it. So why would I even bother? I love their stuff, but I don't want to have to drip feed whiskey to myself. I don't want to have to. That's the problem I have. I love Springbank, but I don't want to have to drip feed their product to myself. I have recently, and I'm going to throw one in here to the mix, just sort of out of the blue. And you guys have said this for long enough, and I've only really realised it recently. The Benriach and the Smoky 12 in particular. This is as close to Springbank, certainly on the nose. And we I know to a certain extent we talk about it, but we don't mention it to the point of, let's just drink Benriach. Certainly Benriach aren't mentioned. They're not talked about in the same way that Springbank are, I would suggest. I know people have talked about that in the past, the Benriach, be it the Smoky 12, be it the 10-year-old, whatever, and that it was in the realms of the Springbanks. I reviewed that Benriach 12, and I can't remember. I genuinely can't remember what I even said about it, which is an awful thing to say, I think, because here's what I'm going to tell you. Midweek this week, I was in the mood. I wasn't having a great day, and I'm a good, sometimes you just say, I just need a good whiskey. I'm just going to spoil myself. And Springbank 10 is a spoil yourself situation for me, just even Springbank 10-year-old. And then I looked at this bottle and went, I have no replacement for this yet. So I lifted it out, and what was behind it? Benriach 12. And I poured the Benriach 12 just because, and I could smell this. I could smell this as I was pouring it into the glass and going, that smells incredibly similar to what I would have been pouring in the Springbank 10. So if you are new to whiskey and you're enjoying Springbank 10, but can't get your hands on Springbank 10. Brinrake 12, Smoky 12 is my suggestion to you. I still haven't nailed my one distillery. I'm going to go through the chat on my other phone because that's the way I'm doing it. And I haven't. So let's scroll back a wee bit. The chat, you guys, there's an awful chat. There's more chat than I expected. I'll go back to, let's see, hey, Jim. Frank's in, Des is in. Good to see you, Des. Jeff Whiskey's making the most of the sun. Lovely sunny day here in North Germany from David Owen. David Owen's in contact with me quite a bit. David, thank you for joining in. Brent's saying how this challenge has taken off again in the last few weeks. Jeff, no, it's weird, Jeff, and I haven't put my offer on the table yet, but I will. Good morning and or afternoon for Rob Smith. There was something I've seen. I've definitely seen something. It's easier whenever you're doing this on a larger screen, or certainly on a bigger computer where you can see what's going on and your name's being flagged up. Whiskey Wims Stuart, who as I say challenged me, can only join briefly. About to have dinner, but I'll catch up and repeat. Well, Stuart, thank you for challenging me. And it was honestly, whenever I don't like being challenged in these things because I feel obliged to come back with something. That sounds cheeky. That sounds, but yeah. So anyway, I can put it. Craig Blair's in, my good friend Craig. I was speaking to Craig yesterday. Danny Keenan. So look, there's people in the chat. Scott Mathiasen, hope everyone else is enjoying the sun. This is the thing, we're having a beautiful day here in Northern Ireland, so most of these people that are saying this are local folk. Whiskey Works Graham is also in. There you go. Right. So I said about Springbank. Springbank is not my distillery of choice if I had one distillery to choose from. As I mentioned earlier on, he says wearing a Springbank t-shirt. It just happened to be the t-shirt that I was wearing today. I hadn't intended doing this. There are, I've already said to you, Springbank offerings, Springbank, Glengyle, Longrow, Hazelburn, any one of them, fantastic. There are other distilleries within Scotland because, and I suppose to a certain extent, why Scotland? Why just Scotland? Well, I think this challenge is sort of set within Scotland to a certain extent, and I mean, as a Scotch whisky fan, outside of, I would suggest, pot still whiskey. I mean, you're looking at Cork, you're looking at the Midland Distillery, and you're looking at, I mean, and don't get me wrong, I love my pot still whiskey in Ireland, but I still think that I would, that most of these whiskies that I'm talking about today, I would still put ahead of even what I consider the best from Midland. Maybe that's a bit cheeky, but yeah, it's that simple. Right. I've offered you up my Springbank argument and why I wouldn't consider Springbank that one distillery. Speyside and Highland, there are, that's the thing. They're so many within the Speyside and Highland regions. Craigellachie are, to me, producing incredible, good, solid, thick whiskey. Would it be the one distillery that I would say if we had only one distillery? No, Arden American. If we had only one distillery, there's an awful lot of people I would suggest would argue that Arden American could do what we need. Not in my opinion. Not in my opinion. They're good. Arden American are good. Somebody we've forgotten about, I would think, and who would not be mentioned in this, are Deanston. Old Deanston. And I mean, this is old Deanston. This is the old 18. But they're still producing great stuff. And we were, I mean, I'm only going back a couple, 3 years ago, that we were just banging on about how good Deanston were. And nowadays, we've seemed to sort of slide on to the newer guys and somebody else. And I think it's, you know, nothing changed there. Deanston were good, and Deanston are good. Benriach, Springbank, Arden American are the new guys. Glencadam. There's not too many of us will say a bad thing about Glencadam. And I mean, I could just drag bottles out. I stopped, I paused and said, like let's not just keep dragging bottles out. Because there's an awful lot of distilleries that we would love to bang on about without dragging all of my bottles out of the shop. Let's take a quick back into the chat because this, my eyesight, sun, etc. I can't see what's going on, but this chat will probably not go on for too long. But I'm just, I wanted to put out what was going to go on in my one distillery. Between us, Scott Mathias, whiskey, beer, cigar guys. My friend Richard, good to see you. And here's me just scanning through the chat. Problem is with this, it's a different thing whenever you're doing it live, and you know, there's the wood pigeons chirping up behind me. It's a controlled environment. Whenever you can control the environment, when you do it outside, you can't control the environment. Menno, you know, laugh out loud. One distillery challenge, and we're up to 7 now. I think it's absolutely getting. You know, this is the thing, Menno. That this is my problem. Very difficult to narrow it down to one distillery. For me, Craig Blair. For me, I'm so glad there isn't only one distillery. Chasing flavors, locations, and the stories behind it is the best thing. Pardon me. Agreed, Craig. Agreed. Yeah. But it's very difficult to sometimes, you know, I think that we tend to sort of swing around and we just, you know, I agree that if there were only one distillery, oh, if there were only one whiskey, it would be the best whiskey we know. And look, I would love nothing more to talk on about this and have a great big chat about it. But that technically wasn't what today was about. For me, this is about getting it out there. What is my one distillery? That if there were only one distillery, what would it be? It was actually a simple choice for me. to be honest with you. And I sort of, as much as I love the Springbank thing, I still love also the Gallagher or an American, Deanston, Glencadam, etc., etc., etc. And for every region, for every 5 minutes up the road, there's another distillery I love. And it's not just Scotland, it's not just Ireland, but if I had one distillery in Scotland, it was simple to me. I thought this was an incredible to me. And I just noticed multi-mission, if you were to put it out, and if you were to put a gun to my head, I probably still couldn't decide between Springbank, Loch Lomond, Glengyle, Benrumac. Well, you mentioned one in there, Menno, and I can't help but let's just this. And I've got a couple of them here. Loch Lomond. Why? And and here's my specific reason. They Loch Lomond are the toy box of Scotch whisky. It's simple. There's not too many distilleries around the world who have what Loch Lomond have, the ability to make what they have. So to me, it's completely. It's I didn't even have to think about this. That if I only have one distillery to choose from, it would easily be Loch Lomond, because if I didn't like the whiskey that they produced here, then they could twist that to do this, or they could tweak it to do that, or they could do this, or they could do that. So the ability to do what Loch Lomond has makes it a simple choice. Surely, surely. There's not too many people. I've said it here in Ireland. Who has ever produced a whiskey called a single blend? Now, we don't talk about it, but nobody mentions it because, it just seems to be one of those things that we don't talk about. But it should be. If you're going to market something different, why does nobody market the term single blend? Because let's face it, there aren't too many distilleries who can actually produce a single blend. Loch Lomond. Here in Ireland, there are a few. There are actually a few who produce enough grain whiskey and enough malt whiskey or pot still whiskey within their walls that they could actually produce a single blend. What? And then people would say, well, why would you want to? It's, as whiskey enthusiasts, the ability to do so. I'm just saying that, you know, it's not because I consider Michael Henry a friend. It's not because I might consider Michael Henry a friend. Maybe it is, but the fact that Loch Lomond can do what they do indoors, to me, makes it a simple answer. If you wanted to have one distillery and one distillery only within Scotch whisky, it would be Loch Lomond. Easily, easily. I'm going to go back and chat to see what people thought about what I'm saying. I don't know how far back I have to go. Um, Let me see from there. Craig Blair. For me, I'm so glad that there isn't only one distillery chasing flavors, locations, and the stories behind is the best thing. Yeah, great. Uh, oh yes, right. That's back to where I was. It's not great whenever I'm chatting and still trying to read. Um, Greg's saying why the 21-year-old will come up on review at some point. 21-year-old now off the market. Graham Stewart, who challenged me to this, saying I haven't got into Loch Lomond, maybe I should. Don't need Stewart. I mean, it's not. Loch Lomond are one of those distilleries that I have said for a long time. I mean, Loch Lomond were very under the radar. I think they should be very on the radar. That classic, I mean, even the classic 12-year-old, they were making good whiskey. They have the ability to make incredible whiskey, and in some cases they are. A Greg's Whiskey Guide, True Gem, but also their offer in France is too narrow and some prices are crazy. Agreed. Good choice, Jim. My choice there would be Ben Romick. So, one distillery. Loch Lomond is like Disneyland of distilleries. This is multi-mission. There will be something there for every enthusiast to absolutely love. And that is thank you, Menno. That's what I'm saying. That's pretty much what I'm summing it up as. It's the fact that if there's one distillery in Scotland who can do it all, it's Loch Lomond, and they haven't even got close yet. That's I think my point. Loch Lomond haven't even got close yet. The ability to change stills, the ability to try different styles of distillate, they're only poking around so far. There aren't that many. You think about Loch Lomond offerings, there aren't that many cask finished offerings on the table. And it's because they're still, to this day, playing around with their still formations and the distillate. Well, how many distilleries are playing around with the distillate? Not that many. Here's my argument. Here is the argument that I've got. Springbank, yes. Springbank. I it's not that many months ago. I was standing in Springbank, and to stand on the malting floor was an experience in itself. Just to stand on that malting floor and have the barley laid out in front of me. There ain't too many distilleries you can do that. I was in Loch Lomond, which is an experience in and of itself. Last November for the second time. This is the second time I've been in the distillery, but this time was the first opportunity I'd had to be there whenever the cooperage was in full operation. You don't get the opportunity to stand on too many cooperages. So Springbank and Loch Lomond are the two best, I would suggest, two best experiences I've ever had in distillery experiences alone. But the fact that Loch Lomond just has all of those opportunities to do this, to do that, to do the other. And it's the fact that Michael is so approachable, and everything that they do, everything that we suggest, everything that we talk to him about, he will happily come back and give us an explanation for what they've done. I just think it's phenomenal. I'm sure I missed an awful lot there. For me, I'm so glad. Yeah. So anybody who's wondering what I'm doing, I'm literally looking at my phone to catch. The chat's there, but It's so much harder for me to read than it is here. Bingo, that my one distillery, Loch Lomond, makes so much this different stuff. No brainer. That's Scotch down under. Thank you, my friend. Um, Loch Lomond is like the Disneyland of distilleries. This was mental. Yeah, something there for every enthusiast. John Crans, cheers, my friend. Good to see you in. The whiskey neighbour. Multi-mission. Can't be 100% sure that he told me it isn't. Oh, sorry, I must have missed something. Must have missed something there. As I said, I wasn't going to fill this out too much as a chat. This is what's in my glass. Loch Lomond 21-year-old, no longer on the market, or certainly not being produced at the moment. It's anything that was 21-year-old has sort of been taken off the market in the preference for the 25-year-old. Is it beautiful stuff? Yeah, aye, it is. Little dry on the finish. A review will come soon. But Loch Lomond for me are easily the one distillery that if we were left with only one distillery, and this is the take that I am having on that challenge. One distillery, just one distillery. Why not then? And it's the scientific view. Choose the distillery that can produce so many different styles of whiskey. Of course you would. Think about it. If all whiskey was decimated, that this is simply the take, and this is pretty much the finish. This is the final take that I have taken on that one distillery challenge. This is my view of it, my take on it. I'm given one distillery. You have one distillery to choose from. Who will survive? Who will it be? Easily Loch Lomond, because they have the capacity to make the weird and the wonderful. All of the distilleries that I talked about earlier on, Springbank, Deanston, Ardnamurchan, Glencadam, Craigellachie, all Benriach, favourite distilleries of mine, and the list goes on and on and on. Yeah, they all make good whiskey, but their limits are narrower than those of Loch Lomond. So it makes more sense to me to just say if I have one distillery, it would be Loch Lomond. Grrr. And that did sound like a rambling. It was a rambling, a rambling. Mm. But it's the truth. It's the honor. It's only honesty from me. I love Springbank, love it. But I also love Craigellachie. I also love Glencadam. I love Benriach. I also love Ardnamurchan, Deanston, etc., etc. Could they all provide for me if nuclear assault closed off everything? I don't think so. So Loch Lomond are still my single distillery of choice. Poof. There you go. Mm. That was a very genuine rambling. I was probably on my second bottle of wine before I started this. Thank you for joining in. It was interesting. It was fun on my behalf. I'm going to move on, and I'm going to join the good wife. But yeah, Hot Moment would be my one distillery if I had to have one distillery. Thanks for joining in, folks. I genuinely mean that, and I will speak to you all soon. Carry on enjoying the weather that you have around you. Carry on enjoying the whiskey that you have around you, and I'll speak to you all soon. Hopefully, take care. Cheers.